I think we really hit like 45. It's going to hit 45 once everybody joins in. So, yeah, finally, I think welcome everybody to this session once again. One more house rule that I forgot, which means mute yourself in its entirety, because if you do not mute yourself, I'm going to hear funny noises. And that's like great because it maintains like a sense of decorum and discipline and obedience, I would say. Great. Welcome to the day 2 of masterclass session, which means today I'm going to be covering like a couple of things which are related to World Schools Debating Championship. But most importantly, I want to ensure that everybody is clear of the formatting that I told you yesterday for turncoat people. I'm going to do a quick recap for people who wouldn't or weren't able to join us yesterday due to classes or due to anything that was happening yesterday with that. Great. So yes, welcome to Chandigarh Speech and Debate League. We are planning to democratize the aspect of debating. We're trying to make sure that debating is sort of there in the nooks and crannies of India's corner, because debating as a skill is very personal. It helps you with a lot of things, makes you more rational, makes you inhibit a lot of, let's say, decision-making skills, problem-making skills. You can probably hit it up with anybody else, start a communication, throw a random fact and be like, okay, I'm really. So that's the ability of debating in general. So we as a company really want to democratize the learning space to a larger degree. But secondarily, we are really trying to make sure that we inhibit this activity to a level where every other person can somehow access this information. We do not want to gatekeep this knowledge. We do not want it to be just related to theoretical understandings, because all of you go to school. So somewhat you have access to like NCERT, IB books, or maybe ICSC books. Everybody has like access to books to a larger degree over here. But I want like practical knowledge to be inculcated in all of you, because at the end of the day, everybody has different sort of information. Everybody has different sort of lived experiences. And the only thing that makes us come together is the kind of stories that we probably communicate with each other. So I think that's the only way we can probably make this tournament as well, success as well. Great. So what is going to happen? I'm going to be reiterating the schedule pretty quick, which means today is the second day of the training. The first day was dedicated to the orientation. Orientation is like a general welcome that, hey, welcome to Chandigarh Debating League. This is the theme. This is the schedule. This is what you'll be given on your WhatsApp group. Stay updated, etc. All of that formality is done on the first day. And the second half of the first day was dedicated to turncoat. So people who are subscribing or has registered for turncoat debating format were given like an in-depth explanation of how do you want to do turncoat. Do you want to read it on paper? What are the tips and tricks? What are the strategies? How do you transition from for to against? So these are the couple of in-depth explanation that I ought to give in the session yesterday. What is happening on 5th? 5th is the main day, which means everybody of you who have registered in this tournament will be given an opportunity to participate in the qualifier rounds, which means that anything and everything that I've been teaching you for the past 3 days, you will come into practice when you go into the qualifiers day. Qualifiers is sort of like a preliminary round where you get access to, let's say, how the tournament is done. How are we really playing the game? Are we a part of the game, or are we really locating it all across? So this is like a in-depth practical explanation or a simulation that you will be a part of. So 5th August is going to be online, which means all your Zoom links, all the information related to your WSDC teams, which side are you speaking on, etc., will be given out on the WhatsApp groups like 2-3 days prior. Not the side and yes, the side and everything in terms of like Zoom links are going to be, let's say, given to you 5-6 hours prior. You will be given it. I ensure it in its totality. Yep. So don't worry about it. About turncoat people, you will be given breakout rooms. You will be given all of these links and you will be given all the information. So do not worry about it. You will have that access regardless. What is happening on 14th? So everybody who's registered, we've had like more than 500 registrations right now. So all 500 of you will be a part of the qualifiers. What is the difference between semis and qualifiers? People who do exceptionally well in qualifiers will have an opportunity to come to Chandigarh and experience semifinals and grand finals live. We will be doing everything that you've been taught live in Chandigarh. The location will be pre-decided. We'll probably send you all the information regarding it, and you will get an opportunity to showcase your skills on a live platform, and you will have that like vision of excellence being translated. Yes, I have a doubt. I'll just check it. Hello. Oh yeah. Hello, Saurabh. Oh, I hope you wouldn't just like draw anything today. Yep. Yes, Harshini.
Ma'am, yesterday I had a doubt regarding changing from WSDC to turncoat, and I even wrote back on the site. Like, you are just to
Oh,
write that out on WhatsApp, and then they
oh
asked us
yes.
to write it on some site. I don't know, some AI.
Oh yeah. Hello,
I even,
Abhi.
yeah, I wrote it to that too, but I didn't get an answer yet.
Okay, so that's great. Everybody who's been facing these troubles, because Harshini, your problem is somewhat like being faced by a number of people. So we are sort of solving all of their problems. It's taking us times, which means we will be sorting it out by tonight or by tomorrow latest. So do not worry about it. Meanwhile, you will have an awareness about both the sides. So if you really want to go to turncoat, I've already explained it yesterday how turncoats are sort of
Yeah,
operated. So even if you're informed about it, like let's say a little later, you will be able to catch up. I'm pretty sure about it. Yes.
thank you.
Yep. I hope you're clear with the timeline, everybody. Training 31st to 2nd, which means tomorrow is going to be the last day of training where I have like mocks and like training sessions, how this thing is coming to practice. Qualifies your main day where you put sort of every effort to make sure that you go to semis and finals, which is happening on Chandigarh, and the date is 14th of August. Yes. Qualify schedule, people who missed it, but also like just to give a quick fresh recap of things which were happening yesterday. 9 a.m. you log in, which means you just have to come on Zoom. 9:30 to 10:30, you have round one turncoat. So everybody has to come and do all the rounds, right? Regardless if you won or if you've lost, right? This is true for WSDC people, but turncoat people have to do like all rounds, and same for WSDC people. I'll come to that. 9:30 to 10:30 round one, 11 to 12 round two, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. is going to be turncoat, which is the last preliminary round. Is anybody unmuted? Wow. Great. Yeah, that really disrupts my code flow. So make sure that you remain muted at all points of time. I have shared the turncoat debate topics, which is in a form of PPT, and I've also shared the recording of what was happening yesterday in the group. So do access it. I want you all to just spend 1 hour understanding what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure you'll be massively aware about it. What's happening in the evening, or let's say what's happening in late afternoon till like 8:30 p.m. So turncoat people, your job gets over at 1:30 p.m. What will happen now to you? You can leave the Zoom meet, you can chill, and you can just probably read, watch, do anything, go back to your school, do something. So yeah, that's it for you. 3 p.m. sharp, people who are subscribing for WSDC have to log in, which means they have to come in Zoom. 3:30 to 4:30 is going to be round one of WSDC. What is WSDC? It's World Schools Debating Championship. Easy, like schools around the world debate. So that is the definition of WSDC. You have 2 rounds of WSDC prepared, which means you will be given the motions today itself after I'm done with the presentation. So at the end of the slide, I have this motion, let's say motion poster, and I'm going to discuss the motions as well. So you have enough understanding and a formal contextual knowledge of what you will research on. So don't worry about it. Round 1 and round 2 are prepared, which means your motion is going to be out today, which means you'll be given like 2 to 3 days or like 3 to 4 days of like enough preparation. So do not worry about it. 5 to 6 p.m. is round 2. What is happening from 6:30 to 7:30? So there's one more round in WSDC, which is going to be impromptu. What is impromptu? Impromptu is basically you have to prepare on the spot. So your motion is going to be released for round 3 at 6:30 p.m. sharp, and then you'll be given like 60 minutes to prepare on this topic. After 60 minutes, from 7:30 to 8:30 is going to be round 3 of WSDC. Your teammates, which means the people who you go against are going to be random. It depends on the wins that you have, which means if you're losing round 1, if you're losing round 2, you probably will face somebody who's lost all the rounds as well. So it's genuinely an equalizer matchup, right? I'll explain all of this in detail, so don't worry. Can I get the recording for yesterday's meeting? Ashnur, are you there in the WhatsApp group? I've sent it. I'll send it today as well. Yep. Amazing. Any doubts in the schedule? I think it's pretty much clear. I'll take any and all doubts. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Uday. Oh, Uday, you're the one who was Afro beating, right? I wanted to see if your mic is working.
Excuse
I
me,
got
ma'am, is
late.
my
But
mic
who can
fine
send
now?
it? Oh, yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
good evening, ma'am. So I just wanted to ask what is after 7:30 because it's not visible on my screen.
Oh, okay, wait. I'll just show you. 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. is round 3 of WSDC, which is impromptu. So 6:30 to 7:30 is going to be your preparation time for round 3's motion, which means you'll be case prepping, you'll be talking to your teammates, what do we have to say, what is your argumentation, etc. And then from 7:30 to 8:30, you will have your round, like you will be facing teams and sort of speaking your speeches. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Harshini.
I'm sorry to disturb you again, but do I need to prepare for both WSDC and turncoat till the time
That's
decision
gonna
is not made?
Okay, so it's gonna be like difficult for you. So I'm gonna sort this out by tomorrow latest. But if you do have the capacity, which means if you're determined, if you're like really diligent, if you want to prepare for like both, you can do so for the safer side. But I do not want to have that burden on you. So I'm gonna sort this out tomorrow latest. But if you want it on a safer side, I would suggest yes. Yes, Samriddhi.
Ma'am, I wanted to know that there are half an hour gaps between the WSDC format. If you can just tell us what we are going to do in between those.
Oh yeah, you can just like relax because WSDC is like difficult, which means you probably need to take a breath. We cannot just release the motion right away until unless we're short on schedule, right? So we're giving you that breaking time where you sort of, let's say, go watch something on YouTube, watch something on Reels, etc. So yeah, this is break. Yes, Pulak.
Ma'am, I missed yesterday's session and I haven't gotten a chance to catch up on the recording, so I'm sorry if this is a repeated doubt, but I had registered initially for turncoat. Are the registrations for WSDC still open, or is that not an option, or just can we
Uh,
participate in both retroactively?
Registrations are closed now, but if you sort of make this doubt, email it to us, we can probably accommodate you, but that's difficult. Like, okay, Hanshika, if you can mute yourself. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, it's quite late, Pulak. So yeah, I'm just so sorry to tell you, but yes, the registrations for WSDC are closed. But we will have like competitions where we go to different other states and sort of go to different countries as well. So you can maybe catch up there in
Yes,
the
yes, I
WSDC.
understand. No worries. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, great. That's great. I'm not going to do an extensive exercise in popular culture because I did that extensively yesterday. We did a theme recap of what is popular culture. So in short, popular culture is somewhat like an idealization, which means if you look at somebody on movies, if you look at somebody in films, if you look something on your Instagram, on your Twitter, on your Facebook, sort of share memes on a regular basis, sort of share updates on WhatsApp, it's a part of popular culture. So popular culture is the largest ecosystem that's there, which means you will probably have celebrities like Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, lot of stars like Travis Scott. I love Travis Scott, so I'm going to say it out loud. So yes, it's a largest ecosystem where you have media, you have movies, you have films, you have, I would say books can be a part of popular culture as well. And you will have 1900s, the rosy acts, and celebrities, the way they dress, award ceremonies, all of this is a part of popular culture. It's a part of your life, which means every day when you think about something, you sort of have to relate it back to popular culture because everything is just so narrative based right now. Like the concept of love in and of itself is so determined by the way Bollywood has perceived us. So yeah, this is the conceptualization which popular culture gives you. So yeah, you can access the recording. I'm still telling you, we did an extensive exercise where we had like more than, let's say, 20 people trying to discuss what popular culture was. Do you think it's beneficial? Do you think it's not beneficial? What are the pros and cons? So yeah, that was like a good research. We had like good definitions. Anshika, I'm really, oh yeah, it's good for me. Yes. I'm going to stop here. Before I discuss WSDC, I'm going to take up doubts for turncoat. I'm also going to be taking up doubts for turncoat and WSDC around 7:10, where if you think that turncoat people have not been answered, or let's say I haven't been answering to them specifically, I'm going to address them at 7:10 as well. But I do want to stop here for like 1 to 2 minutes to address any and all doubts still here. Don't tell me you understood everything. That's like a really diligent thing. That's great. What was happening yesterday for people who did not join orientation, like formality? If you go through slides, you'll understand everything. We were just like understanding what is culture, what is Chandigarh Debating League, what does Ideal do, which means the company that I work for, and what are things happening, your family, all of these things, right? We want to democratize debating, all of these things were happening. And we also did an activity which was great. Turncoat people, do you have any doubts? I'm going to repeat that at 7:10 as well, but I'm going to give a quick gist to what turncoat is. People who are in WSDC don't mind, but I'm going to also tell you what turncoat is. So turncoat is when you speak from both the sides. To imagine like a quote and slice that quote into two. First half of the quote is called for, or it's called proposition. The other side of the quote is called against. So you have two sides, for and against. A turncoat debater has to speak from both the sides. Ideally, debate is like you have to negate somebody, but here you negate yourself. So let's say a topic is money cannot buy happiness. On for, you will say money cannot buy happiness because of 4 reasons. On side against, you will say money can buy happiness because of all of these 4 reasons. So yes, you have to have a balance of all of this. You need to make sure that you do not read it out from the paper because you get marked on 3 metrics. Metrics are also called rubrics, or the elements in which you get judged for. It's also true for WSDC. What are these metrics in which the judges looks up to you? First is matter. Like, what is the person actually saying? Like, if the person doesn't really make sense, I think you will not get marks. And all of you get marks marked out of 30. So matter is going to get 10 points, manner is going to get 10 points, or method is going to get 10 points. Matter is the content, method is the strategy that you employ, which means, are you sitting straight? No, that's a part of manner. But are you really having team collaboration? Are you having a balance between the argumentations in the turncoat debate style? Are you really creating like nuanced argumentation or persuasive argumentation in WSDC? So these are the methods that you have to, these are the methods that you have to employ. What is manner? Manner is, if I'm switching on my camera right now, you can see that my manner is sort of like fine. I am relaxed. I'm trying to have a communication with all of you. So manner depends on how much of an attentive speaker are you, which means, do you maintain eye contact? Do you read out of the paper? Because if you read out of paper, you will have 0 to minimal eye contact. Are you sitting straight? Are you wearing clothes fine? Is your lighting fine? Like, all of these things really matter because you do want to set an impression on the judges, because obviously everybody judges like, yeah. Great. I just want to do a quick water check. Are we doing all fine? I just want to like see thumbs up because I did not give you guys an opportunity to speak. I'm doing fine. Are you? Yeah, great. I want to like see maximum thumbs up because I get like a good vibe check. That's really lovely. Yes. Do we have any turncoat people here? Please raise your hands. I genuinely did not see turncoat people today. Wow, they understood everything. But yeah, people have joined right now, which means Abhiraj, Manya, Sahil. I just genuinely don't know if you're from WSDC turncoat. Which category are you from? So yeah, just do tell me. Yes, Arshnur.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about if any turncoat representatives.
Oh yes, you Arshnur. Do you have any doubts?
To be honest, I didn't attend the session yesterday, so I'm a bit lost here. After this, I'm going to watch the video that you sent. So if I have any doubts, I will get back to you tomorrow.
Yes, sure. But do you understand the format? For your convenience, I'm going to tell you what the format is. So turncoat, imagine a bread, slice it in 2. First half is called for, the second half is called against. So you have to speak from both the sides. So let's say the topic is cats are better than dogs. So on side for, you will say cats are better. On side against, you will say dogs are better. Yes, so this is what the motion is, and this is what you have to do. You have to speak from both the sides, and you have to make sure that you have arguments which are, let's say, equally divided. You cannot have one argument on for, and you cannot have 10 argument on against. You need to have a balance. You can have 5 argument on both the sides. The total time that you have to speak for turncoat is 6 minutes. Yep, so you have to speak for 6 minutes, which means the division is 3 minutes for, 3 minutes for against.
Okay.
Yep, and please do watch the PPT and do get back if you have any doubts. If you can join at 7:10, sure.
Okay. Thank you. So, I had, if you're talking about WSDC, can I leave the meeting? If you're not about turncoat.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to specifically dedicate my time to WSDC today because I covered like extensively what turncoat is yesterday. So I want you to like watch the video, go through slides, and if you feel that you can stay here to listen to WSDC, sure. If you do not think you have work, you can definitely exit the meet, no issues. But do get back.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Do we have any more turncoat people? Seeing none, I'm going to start it. Yes. Welcome to the WSDC in-depth explanation. Okay, ask one question. How many of you have done WSDC before? Or let me just characterize or frame it better. How many of you have done Asian parliamentary debate before? Just raise your hands. I can see one. Don't tell me in the pool of 57 people, only one. Okay, yeah, I see a good number of people. I want you all to like raise your hands, be comfortable, because then I would alter this entire, let's say, debate training. Because if I see maximum number of you are genuinely, let's say, have done it. But yeah, I'm going to explain like the most beginner thing regardless. That's my duty. Yeah, good chunk of people are, let's say, do have a knowledge about what WSDC or let's say what Asian parliamentary debating means. Yes, thank you guys. Good to see. Great hands. Yes. Now I want to ask how many of you have never heard of what WSDC is? What is Asian parliamentary debating? I'll just not call it Asian parliamentary debating. How many of you just don't know what is WSDC? Just like, I don't know, man. I searched on Google, I didn't get it. Yeah. Okay, keep raising your hands. I want to see how many of you are like, oh man, I don't know WSDC. Okay, I see a lot of hands being raised. Yeah, keep on going. I see 13 to 14 people unaware. Okay, now I can see 16, 17, 18. Yeah, basically we have a crowd which is sort of knows what WSDC is and somebody who is very clueless about what WSDC is. So no worries, if you're very experienced and if you think you know the basics, I genuinely do want you to stay back because every advanced speaker needs to brush up their basics. Somebody who's very new, this session is compulsory for you. Yep, amazing, keep your hands down. Now my third question is somebody who's like, yeah, I've heard about WSDC, but I don't know if I've ever done it. Somebody who's in the confused or the gray area. Okay, a lot of people are in gray area. You're like, okay, yeah, I know WSDC, but I haven't done it. I might try all of these things. Oh, that's lovely. I see 10 hands. So we have like a group of 3 composite groups. Composite people. One is like, yeah, I'm experienced. One is, let's say, yeah, I want to try it. And the third one is, hey, I just don't know what's happening. Yep. So you guys can like keep your hands down. That's lovely. Great. Somebody who's very experienced, somebody who has an idea of what WSDC is, can they give an introduction to everybody here? Oh, I see great hands. Everybody who's just like very clueless about WSDC, I'm going to address you because I'm here for you. Yes. I'm asking you to raise your hands when you think you'll be like, oh yeah, I know WSDC, I've done it. I want to explain it to people here who are like 57 of you. Yes, Manit. Yes, Manit.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
So who should go first? Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, WSDC is like a very formal format of debating, like lawyers debate in courts. It's exactly that. Arguments matter the most, and whatever explanation is provided to the to arguments to back up that and analysis. So that is the most important thing there. And also, it depends on speaker to speaker. There are different rules of speakers. So it is a very beautiful format. And secondly, I would say that first speaker's speech has to be very structured, and second speaker's speech have to be very complicated and composed of different things, rebuttals and arguments and explaining previous speaker's points as well. And the whip is completely different thing. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And lastly, I would say that in normal format of debating, we are just flaunting our English, how well we know phrases. But really like WSTC because it focuses more on arguments, the analysis behind it, and how well you are taking examples to prove your point. Yeah, that is all from my side.
Thanks, Maya, for that explanation. Yep, Yamini, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so WSDC, am I even audible today?
Yes, you are. You're a little muffled, but I'm gonna work with that. I think everybody's gonna work with that.
I guess this is because of my earphones, right? Anyways, so WSDC according to me is like there are two teams divided. The number of people matters on who is taking that debate. So one team has to speak for the topic and other has to speak against it. So it really matters on how argumentative you are and how well you know how to explain the terms you are using. And
yeah, you make sense, Yamini. Great. Thank you, Yamini. You can keep your hands down. Yep. So WSDC is a relatively advanced format of debating, but do not get intimidated because everybody has the capacity to know what WSDC is. I mean, everybody of you are learners and want to be better debaters. WSDC gives you an opportunity to work in team, to have better speeches, and to make sure that you have like most of the knowledge coming out of like 3 people, you compiling it and you're sending it out. So that's like a format that we're trying to discuss. So right now, you guys know there are 2 things. I'm gonna take an example of bread. There are 2 sides. So debate only happens when you have 2 people who have contradictory or contrary views. You cannot have a debate when 2 of them agree with each other. It will just be like a settlement that you're having. A debate only happens when you have 2 people who are against each other. So these 2 sides are called proposition. The second side is called opposition. The job of proposition is to agree with the motion. The job of the opposition is to say no to whatever proposition is said and to make sure that it furthers the case from what opposition thinks. Let me take an example. This house would ban zoos. On side proposition, you will tell me the ban metric of what or why like zoos should be banned because it's like cruel to animals. On side opposition, you will say, no, we shouldn't ban zoos because animals are harmful as well. And we want to have like a scenic recreation of most of the exotic species of animals, right? So that can be one argument in opposition. So proposition always supports the motion, be it any motion. Opposition always disagrees with the motion, which means it always negates the motion. In WSDC, you have 3 speakers in each team, which means you have 2 teams, you know it right now. It's proposition, opposition. Proposition is also called for, opposition is also called against. These 2 teams have 3 people in it. In total, how many people do we have for debating? 6 people in a room or in a Zoom meet, I would say. So if I keep like 6 people here in the Zoom meet and push everybody out of the meet, it's going to become like a WSDC debate because we will have 3 people in one team, which is going to be called as for, and the other 3 are going to be called opposition by default. So you have 6 people divided into 2 teams, 3 people in each team. All of these 3 people in one team work in collaboration to make a good case. A case is basically what you will present about that topic. So let's say your topic is this house would ban smoking. Then you will spend like a good amount of time discussing why do you want to ban smoking, what are the ill effects of smoking, and you will like genuinely talk it out. You will like three of you will have a Zoom meet, Google Meet, have WhatsApp groups, and you will discuss what's happening with the case, right? So you will make a case on your own, discuss it with whoever goes first, whoever goes second, whoever goes third, what you want to talk about. Similarly for opposition. In opposition, you have to do the same thing as I've been telling you, which means you have to say no to everything the proposition says in the round. And then you will have to do the same thing as proposition is doing, which means you have to create your own case. You have to make sure that you defeat proposition. So it's like a debate. It's like a battleground of intelligence. Yes, Veer.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that what is the difference between impromptu rounds and the prepared rounds, except that they're both that in impromptu rounds you get the motions on spot and that in prepared rounds you get before. I just wanted to ask that the debating format when you debate, is there any difference in it?
No. There's no difference. Like in all three rounds, you will do WSDC. The only difference remains in prepared and impromptu. Prepared, you get a motion like beforehand. Impromptu, you get the motion right then and there. There's nothing. You will have to do WSDC in all three rounds, regardless of the motion types, regardless of the type, regardless of what are you getting and at what time are you getting. You will follow this structure throughout the debating format, like throughout the debating tenure.
But in prepared rounds, do we also have to give like evidence, like in anyone's?
Yeah, you have to do everything that you will be doing in prepared in impromptu as well. So nothing changes. Like the way you,
but in impromptu, it's not really compulsory to give the evidence, right? Because we can't use devices when we're preparing for the same. So if I'm not wrong, the evidence is not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to give specific evidence in these rounds.
Hey, nobody stopped you from actually quoting any sort of evidences because we can't really stop you from using Google or anything, right? But here's the thing, I do not advise using Google or any such like cheating devices, but I do think that if you have any evidences which you've learned through your books or which you think is like, oh, I've heard this from somebody else, I want to quote it here, you can do so. I mean, nobody's going to stop you because the way you pinpoint evidences in your speech really grounds your debate. So it is not like mandatory that you have to give evidences, but it's also not banned that you can't give an evidence. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, great.
Sorry to interrupt you in between, but I think there are a few people in the waiting room. So if you can just let them in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, I've seen these people, they know it already. Great. Yep. I see doubts. Good evening, ma'am. I wanted to ask if only 6 people will be in the meeting room. Then we'll be given the timings when we have to join the meeting. Oh yeah, I'll come to that as well. You will not have like 6 people in that meeting. 6 people is just like the number of WSDC teams that we have. Other than that, you will have judges who will be like 2 or 3 in number. You will have like a timekeeper. You have to keep your own time basically. So judges will give you like, hey, I'm not going to write it. It's like, yeah. So this is the logistical part of it. 6 people divided into 2 teams, 3 people in each team is just the format and the structure. You will have to have 6 people in all of its entirety. If you do not have 6 people, you will probably have difficulties actually holding that debate round. Yes, second question, it's like team coordination is very important. Yeah, I mean, that's like compulsory for you to have it. If you do not have it, you might not have like a coherent speech. Great. Third point, there are adjudicators who adjudicate the debate. Okay, I'm going to take any and all doubts after I'm done with every slide. So I'm going to pause for 5 minutes after I'm done with each slide. I'm going to take up all your doubts. Use the chat box as well. Third, there are adjudicators who adjudicate the debate based on manner, matter, and method on the scale of 67 to 83. Who are adjudicators? Can somebody tell me? Okay, adjudicators are judges. It's like a fancy name of judges. That's it. Yes, Veer, Manit, yeah, you guys got it. Great. Yes, so judges are called adjudicators. So keep that thing in your vocabulary now. Do not call judges, call them adjudicators. Fancy word of saying it. You guys get marked on 3 elements. I told you manner, the way you communicate things, matter, the things that you're saying, which means the content, method is the strategy. Are all of you really in sync? Are all of you saying the, let's say, relevant part? Are you deviating from your path? Everything gets reflected on your mark sheet, and you are marked on the scale of 67 to 83. It's very arbitrary. Like nobody has ever seen these marks to even exist, right? But this is like a WSDC guide that you have to go through. Yeah. So you get marked out of 67 to 83. 83 is the best speech in the world. Okay. I gave an example of David Africa. David Africa is the world champion 2 times, and he has gotten 83 in rounds, right? So 83 is the best speech. You have to make sure that you target like a 77 to 79 scale. 79 is like a best in your batch, I would say. Yes, somebody who gets 67 is just didn't try. Okay, so that's the scale. Yep. Similarly, if you have like 1 to 10 scale, you will have 67 to 83 scale here. 67 worst, 83 best. Fourth, the motions are different for each round. Motions are topics. Fancy word for motions. Fancy word for topics. Okay, Amini, if you can mute yourself. Great. The motions are different for each round. You will not get the motions you will not get same motions for every round, but in this particular debate tournament, we do have same motions for 2 rounds. I'm going to release that. But usually in tournaments, you do not have same motions for every round, right? You cannot just do that. It's just funny. But even if you have like same motions for every round, it's completely fine. You will still have better, you will have a second chance doing like a good speech. So that's like a good effort. You get to have more in-depth knowledge about it. Some rounds are prepared, which means here 2 rounds are prepared, and the other round is called impromptu round, which is based on the organizing committee's discretion, which means every tournament is different. So if you go to like Nepal WSDC, you will have 5 rounds which are prepared, 5 rounds which are impromptu. If you go to like Australia's WSDC, you might have 8 rounds which are impromptu. If you go to Pakistan's WSDC, like Karachi WSDC, you might have like 4 rounds prepared, you might have 3 rounds impromptu. So yeah, it depends on the tournament that you go through. Here you have 2 rounds prepared, 1 round impromptu. That depends on the organizing committee's discretion, which means us. Pausing here for doubts. Oh yeah, it's okay. Yep, I'm gonna take doubts now. Yes, or there
So I just wanted to ask, actually, this is my first time doing a WSDC competition. So does the same competition occur in countries like Czech Republic? Yeah. So it's the same competition, right?
It's World Schools Debating Championship, which means
Yeah.
schools around the world follow the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, why do you take like Czech Republic as an example? That was nice. Great, yes, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, my doubt is ma'am, the team will pair us in debating team like random peoples. But ma'am, suppose ma'am a turn comes and ma'am the first round begins, and ma'am suppose I have 3 participants. The total number are 3 participants, and my teammates are not available for that. So ma'am, I will be like disqualified for the round, or maybe only I will continue for the debate.
Oh yeah, good question. So there's this thing called iron person, everybody. Let's imagine. You have one team which is opposition, your proposition for this round. Imagine like a situation, and one of your team partner gets sick. So you are left with 2 people, you and your friend. What will you do? You will iron person. What do you mean iron person? I'll tell you that later. But if you're like one person who wants to, if you're, let's say 2 of your teammates are sick and you're the only person in your debate round, unfortunately, most of the tournaments do not really allow one speaker to do all 4 speeches or to do all 3 speeches, because it's going to be just like very tiring. I mean, that's not the part of WSDC format, but this is like a very exceptional situation. So you can probably opt out, or we will find a solution for you. So you have to inform the organizing committee then and there. And that's something which is taken care of. But usually, giving 3 speeches on your own is not a possibility. However, if you have 2 people with you, you can definitely iron person, which means one person says the first speech, second person says the second speech, the first person says the third speech. So you cannot have the second person repeat like one more speech. So here's the case. I'll show you. Annotate. Annotating. Great. Imagine you are 1, your friend is 2, and your other friend is 3. 3 is out because 3 is sick. Sick guy. Sick. Okay. You're left with 1, 2. Okay. You and your friend. What happens? You give the first speech. Your friend gives the second speech. You have to give the first speech now. So it is like this. Second, which means your friend cannot give the third speech, because you cannot give two speeches consecutively. Like I cannot give three speeches. I cannot give two speeches back to back. I have to make sure that I give like one speech, then I take a break, and then I give like another speech. Let's take another situation. Your friend two goes first, you go second, then two has to go third. That is going to be the bifurcation. Does that make sense? It's true for
Yes,
everybody.
ma'am.
Like
Yes.
yeah, cool. This is called iron person. Iron person is like a strong word for, oh, somebody can give two speeches. Yes, Ananti.
Good evening. Ma'am, I actually
Yeah.
wanted to ask that we have to follow the chronological order for turns, or we can just adjust it as per our team.
Oh yeah, you can adjust it according to your team. Nobody has to have a fixed tenure and be like, okay, I'm gonna go prime minister, I can go DPM. It depends on your comfortability. Like if you're comfortable communicating that with your partners, sure.
Thank you.
Even in North Korea too, I know that's lame to even ask. Oh yeah. Ma'am, it's like final round is at Chandigarh. Yes, sure, Bodhi. Great. Any more doubts? Can I move on? Okay, I think my slide has just stopped. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna share it. Yeah, great. Let's look at WSDC debate format, but just give me like 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. Great. WSDC debate format. Now, this is the real catch. I want you all to be like hyper focused on this. But if you really miss this, it's gonna be like bad. Like if you missed an important chunk. Yep. Somebody who's done WSDC before, can they do like a quick explanation of it? Because I do think peer learning is a fact which is very possible. But don't worry, whatever your peer says, I'm not going to repeat that. I'm going to make sure that I explain it in a good manner. I just want to have like good communication here. Yes, Veer first, then Uday. Okay, Veer, were you about to say it? Oh, wow,
Yes,
okay, yes.
so I have not really done a WSDC before, but I've already done the EPD format. So it's like almost as similar as EPD.
Yeah.
So at first the proposition starts by establishing the motion and what the motion is and what the motion and what the argument is going to be about. And after that, maybe it's 5 minutes, 30 seconds or 7 minutes timer. I don't really know, it depends. And after that, it comes to the opposition speaker. Opposition speaker is technically has to establish their argument while simultaneously opposing what the proposition prime minister has already spoken. After the opposition speaker, it's about the deputy prime minister, who's the speaker too, who he has to establish, he has to elaborate whatever the prime minister, the first speaker has said, while also opposing what the first speaker of the opposition side has said. So it's technically like going crossword. So like it's technically to say all the main content. What is the argument? What is everything? After that, opposition speaker two, who is the deputy leader of opposition, if I'm not wrong, he has to oppose what the prime minister, deputy prime minister has said, and needs to go with by elaborating their argument what the opposition speaker one has said. And then the proposition speaker three and the opposition whip and the government whip, they both have very separate role compared to other four speaker roles. They cannot present new points because whatever points they presume, I presume that the adjudicators do not really count them. So the third speaker of the proposition and the third speaker of the opposition, they actually have to destroy the argument of the other team. They have to summarize what their team has said, and they need to tell that why are we winning and the other team is losing, and what their argument is actually baseless. So that's what it's about.
Exactly, you were true. I mean, everything that you said was like good. I think you have like a predisposed knowledge about it. Yes, passing the mic to Manit, then Udaivir.
Okay, actually, just want to correct you on this one. You said at first it was Uday.
Sorry?
Sir, like, ma'am, you mentioned the chronological order was first Veer, then Uday. So just reminding you. Okay.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I mean, just like, okay, sure, Manit.
Okay, shall I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first speaker said absolutely correct, but I would like to add some more points to it. That in the second speaker speech, because I think he did not mention what are they called as. Did he? Did he?
No, he didn't. But if you
Okay.
want to add this, you can.
Okay. So the first speaker of side proposition is turned side is prime minister, and then first speaker of side opposition is leader of opposition. Then second speaker of side opposition is deputy prime minister, and second speaker of side opposition is deputy leader of opposition. Then the third speaker of side opposition is government whip, and of opposition is opposition whip. So basically, what deputy has to do is that one more thing, he or she has to explain the above the speaker's arguments or the prime minister's arguments very elaborately and add more to it. And second of all, he has to introduce some of his more arguments to that. So it can't be more arguments like let's say I'm the DPM and I'm introducing 4 to 3 arguments after in my speech, and I'm just not explaining my previous speaker's arguments. That will not considered be as a good speech. So the ideal speech would be 1 or 2 arguments of new arguments of my own, and more focus on explanation and a bit of rebuttals. So because mainly the focus on rebuttals is on the website. And next point is that generally when we define the debate as prime minister or leader of opposition, we do not need to simply explain the meaning of the motion. We have to say that why is side proposition is, what is the purpose of side proposition, what does side proposition convey, and what is our what do we say, agenda. So that's basically the definition, which I think sums it all up.
Thank you so much, Manis, for that in-depth explanation. Very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. So basically, the 2 people before me explained it pretty well, but I would also like to touch upon it. The proposition is the side that is for the agenda, like supporting it, and opposite is against it, like ma'am just mentioned. And the first speakers of both the sides basically lay out their opening arguments and lay out the battle plan and that is the prime minister. The second speaker of both sides is the deputy prime minister. They have to elaborate further on what was forementioned by the prime minister. And the most important part of a debate structure is the whip, as the whip rebuttals the whole argument and closes it. And while most of you must be thinking that even in the non-impromptu ones, excuse me, ma'am, what were those called? I forgot.
Prepared and impromptu.
Yeah, in the prepared sections, those will also be impromptu, as one has to make notes side by side in order to counter the argument properly.
Yeah, thanks, Udafi, for that info dump. Yes, Arshia.
Yeah, ma'am, I have a query instead. In WSDC format, we usually have a reply speech as well in the end, given by the speaker 1 and 2 of both the sides. So, will the reply speeches not be entertained in this?
It's not in this tournament. You usually have reply speeches in tournaments which are specifically pertaining to Asian parliamentary debating or WSDC formats, but we do not have it in here because we really think that the organizational capacity of ours is we are genuinely having 500 people who are starting to know what WSDC is. So we want to make sure that everybody has a basic understanding of what WSDC is, and we do not want to intimidate them with complicated of most of the things. Like, it's just so overcomplicated if you start discussing what the reply speeches are, how are they different from whips. So it's just like making them understand clashes, impact. So yeah, I do understand people who are advanced get that query. Do we speak from different sides every other round? Yes. So if you're for in round 1, you're most likely to be against in next round, but you cannot predict what the tabby cats do. What is a tabby cat? Tabby cat is this
person, not exactly a person, it's a robot. It's a AI which largely caters to most of the things which are happening in a, let's say, a debate format. So when you register, you'll get like something called tabby cat, or you get accustomed to most of the sites, right? You will get to know your sites, don't worry. So, but yeah, if you're for, you might be against, and if you're for again in the next round, it depends on your luck as well, right? I mean, it's just situational. It depends on the kind of AI that we're using right now. So yes, it's just like very circumstantial. You can get like 3 rounds for, or you can get 3 rounds opposition, you can get for opposition, you can get opposition. So yeah, it's just like a mathematical computational ability that you can do right now. Yes, Veer.
Yeah, so I have a couple of doubts starting that are nukes allowed?
No.
Nukes are not allowed. And
Yeah.
also I wanted to ask that what is the time limit?
Yes, time limit is
For
going to
every-
be 6 minutes.
6 minutes. And what is going to be like that I also wanted to ask that what is going to be the like the motion selecting? Like, is it going to be the elimination method, or is it going to be like ABCD?
Yes,
ABC.
it's going to be ABC.
ABC. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, great. Yes, Prateek asks me a question. Can these positions of speaker be changed in new round, or do we have to speak in the position we have picked in the first round? Depends on you. It depends on the kind of communication that you have with your teams. Yes, Veer, do you have a question again?
No. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, Saurabh.
Yes, ma'am. And my question is that, ma'am, you said that, ma'am, the time limit is about like 6 minutes. So, ma'am, the time limit is like for the proposition, like for the one particular team, or like for the whole debate?
You will have to speak 6 minutes individually. So proposition speaker 1, 6 minutes, proposition speaker 2, 6 minutes, proposition speaker 3, 6 minutes. Same on opposition. Everybody individually will get to have an opportunity to speak for 6 minutes. It's not like a collective time of group. Like you cannot have 6 minutes for the entirety of the group. Then the entire debate is going to last for 15 minutes. Yeah. Sanvi, will have to prepare both opposition proposition sides. Then in prepared motions, yes. So you will get the motions on the D day, which means on 5th of August, you'll get to know which side you are on. So ideally, you have to prepare from both for and against. So you get a fair idea of what is happening on for and against. And on the D day, you get to know which side you're actually speaking on. So yes, you have to prepare from both the sides. Yes, I'll start with what WSDC format is. I'll take any and all doubts after I'm done with this slide. I'll ensure everybody's doubts are cleared in this session. Don't worry. Yes, what is WSDC format and why is it an essentiality? Cool. Imagine like a bread slice again. Okay, wait, I need to annotate. Yep. This is a bread slice. Great. Cut that bread slice into 6 parts. Yep. This is proposition. This is opposition. Proposition will have 3 people. Opposition will have 3 people. Proposition will obviously 3 people. I'm going to repeat it because WSDC formats gets like a pretty overwhelming thing for some people. So I really want it to be clarified. Proposition will have 3 speakers. Those 3 speakers are called proposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3. Note, they are also called prime minister, deputy prime minister, lead, and government whip. Note, it happens in an Asian parliamentary debating. And Asian parliamentary debating is like a bit different from WSDC, but it's like actually the same. But I do not want you to get into the complexity of, oh, this person is called like, oh, LO, now I'm going to be DPM, oh, I'm going to be DLO. So I do not want all of you to get confused in the nomenclature itself, right? So for the convenience, it's called proposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3. I'm going to tell you what all of these speakers do. But before that, let's understand opposition. Opposition has 3 speakers: opposition speaker 1, opposition speaker 2, opposition speaker 3. Proposition, okay, Mehak, stop doing that. Proposition speaker 1 is also called, like, proposition as a side is also called affirmative, right? And opposition is called negative. So you can also call it affirmative speaker 1, affirmative speaker 2, affirmative speaker 3. Or you can also say negative speaker 1, negative speaker 2, negative speaker 3. Yep. How do we go about it? I hope this nomenclature is pretty much clear to all of you. Yes. How are things actually done here? So the first speaker is going to be from the proposition side, because proposition is the one who starts the debate in a particular round. So the first speaker is going to be proposition speaker 1. Second speaker is going to be opposition speaker 1. Why is this true? Because I told you in the very beginning, debate only happens when you have two people who are going against each other. You cannot have proposition speaker 1 and then you will have proposition speaker 2. In between, you will have somebody from the opposition to actually say, no, I do not agree with you, right? So the proposition speaker 1 is the first speaker. Opposition speaker 1 is the second speaker. Proposition speaker 2 is the third speaker. Opposition speaker 2 is the fourth speaker. Proposition speaker 3 is the fifth speaker. Opposition speaker third is the sixth speaker. So it's proposition speaker 1, opposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, opposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3, opposition speaker 3. So it goes like this. So if you like want to cross check diagonally or do something with sticks, you can probably relate with that. Any doubts what is happening here? Okay, ma'am, what is the conclusion time period? Okay, conclusion is somewhat like dependent on you. How do you want to conclude? What time are you going to dedicate? Ideally, just dedicate 1 minute or 60 or just like 30 seconds to conclusion. So basically, ma'am, the format is same like parliamentary debate. Yeah, almost. But we're not involving like complex terms here. But if you're aware about the complex terms, I will still tell you because it's a masterclass anyway. The format is basically like World Scholars Cup. Yes, Akshay, you're right. Okay, what are these complex terms? Proposition speaker 1 is called Prime Minister. So proposition is also called government. Opposition is also called opposition. So Prime Minister is the first speaker from proposition, which means government. Deputy Prime Minister is the second speaker from side government. Government whip. Whip is WHIP. Whips, like if you want to have like a magic wand associated with whips, it has the same duty here in debates. So yes, whips are the third speakers on both the sides. Who is the first speaker on opposition? It's called leader of opposition. Second speaker is called deputy leader of opposition. Third speaker is called opposition whip. So these are the terms. I do not want you to get like really confused with these terminologies or nomenclature. I'm going to send it in the group if you really want to refer to it. But something that you have to be absolutely clear about is who is proposition speaker 1, who goes after proposition speaker 2, who goes after opposition speaker 3. Nobody goes after opposition speaker 3. It's the end of the debate, right? So yes, I wanted to be clear with the chronology. I wanted to be clear with who's proposition speaker 1, who's proposition speaker 2, who's proposition speaker 3. You get to decide with your own team what speaker do you want to be. Do you want to go second? Do you want to go third? Do you want to start the debate? That depends on you. Oh yeah, great. Any doubts in the format? Yep, so I'll just draw it here. Proposition speaker 1, then opposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, opposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3, opposition speaker 3. So yeah, I just wrapped it all out. Yep, I see no doubts. I'm going to move forward. Oh yeah, geez. Great. Yep. Great. Any doubts? I can still take 1 or 2. No, ma'am, it's clear. Okay, yeah, thanks. Yes, let's understand WSDC, the base logistical part. Like most of you are like, oh, how many times, how much time are we really speaking? What are we speaking? All of these things, right? So WSDC is a team event. You get to know because you are 3 people and 3 people have to communicate, have to collaborate, have to get on WhatsApp groups personally, have to fix who are they, and what are they doing, what's been up with their life, which speaker do they want to go. So it's something that you have to do yourself, which means couple of things here. Your WSDC teams, if you've had filled a preference, if you did not fill a preference, you randomly assigned somebody, will be out, like an entire database will be out by tomorrow latest or tonight max, like tonight minimum and tomorrow max. So you can check up, you can then sort of go to your members, you can tag them in the group and be like, hey, where can I find my partner? I want my team members. My team is like, let's say L4. I'm person from L4. I'm looking for other 2 people who are from L4. So you can do that navigation in the entire, let's say, group. One more thing, if you guys have seen Rab De Bana Di Jodi, Shah Rukh Khan does that. Like when he sort of wants to meet Anushka Sharma in the dance class, he sort of raises the placard and be like, okay, where's my partner? You have to do the same thing in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, each team has 3 speakers. So you will have 6 speakers divided into 2 teams. One team goes against the other. One team speaks for, the other speaks against the topic. The topic is not called agenda. Please do not call this an MUN. But yes, like a motion is what's called a topic, right? So call it topic, call it motion, call it topic. But yeah, if you want to call it agenda as well, why not? Yes, team limit for senior, which means individually you guys have to speak for 6 minutes. What is the speech duration for various categories? You do not have to care about juniors, middle, because you guys are seniors, which means you have to speak for 6 minutes. I'm going to tell you what will you speak in those 6 minutes. I'm going to give you like a structure so you can have like a good baseline of what are you communicating with other people, right? Yes, you will have POIs. Let's understand what POIs are. POIs are called questions, a point of information. If anybody has done MUNs, okay, just a second, Akshara ma'am, when will we get to know our team members? I told you right now, it'll be released in WhatsApp group, like the entire database, and then you will get to check who you are paired up with, and then you can tag them, you can have a look out for them. Yes. What are POIs? POIs are questions, point of information. So in a MUN, you have this thing called placard. You raise that placard and be like, hey, I have a question. And that fancy term of having a question is called a point of information or a point, right? Point of information is usually asked when you have a question on another team, right? It's usually done on opponents. So if you're proposition speaker 2, you want to ask a question to opposition speaker 1. So you'll be like point or point of information. I want to ask a question. And then this person is going to stop and be like, yeah, sure. It depends on that person if they want to take the point of information or not. If they do not want to take your point of information, do not badger, do not heckle. When can you ask the point of information? You cannot ask a point of information in the first minute and the last minute. So the entire speech duration I've told you is 6 minutes, which means in the first minute, you cannot ask a POI. Like first 60 seconds, do not say POI, like the person is just introducing. In the last 60 seconds, do not ask a POI because that person is concluding. In the second to 5th minute, ask a POI. That duration is somewhat comfortable. You can say POI, you can write it in the chat box and you'll be like, okay, POI. That depends on the person if they want to accept it or reject it. There is no nuke. Nuke is called compulsory POI. So if you say nuke, you'll be like, oh, I have to answer it. POI is like a non-obligatory way of saying, oh yeah, I'll take a question. It's advisable that you take a question because everybody loves engagement. I want you to go ahead and engage with what the other side has to say. It's called better listening as well. Yeah, period.
So I wanted to ask that you said that you cannot ask in the last minute, but yeah, that is fine. That is a productive time. But can you like say at the starting of the speech that you will accept all the POS in the last minute of the speech?
Sorry?
Can you? I know that the first minute and the last minute of your speech is actually productive time, and you cannot be asked POIs. But can you actually, before you start your speech, so that your speech cannot be disturbed, can you just say that you will accept all the POIs at the 5th minute or at the 6th minute?
No, you cannot say that you can probably address all the POIs in the 6th minute because 6th minute is the ending time. What can you do instead?
Like 5th
you can
minute, like the final minute,
Oh yeah, you can do that, but make sure that you do one thing that I suggest. Make sure that you tell the other people, do not say POI outright. Like, do not like unmute yourself and be like POI. It disturbs the flow. I get it. Just write it in the chat box. So if you have the time to read the chat box, you can consider that. So I would prefer you direct that or redirect that question to the chat box instead of like, okay, I'm gonna now allow you to speak it out loud. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Means how many POIs we can ask? Ask like 2 POIs, but like make sure that you do not like keep saying POI, POI, POI. Just do not write it in the chat box. It's just very annoying, but also just like it disturbs the flow of the other speaker. You might have an equity against you. So yeah, just do not make sure that you do not badger them. Have a 15-second break. If the other person has not accepted your POI, then ask a POI, write it in the chat box, be respectful to the other person who's actually, let's say, trying to attend your POI or would want to accept your POI. Try to be respectful because POIs get like a little bit taxi, I would say. Yes, I'll take like Saurav's doubt.
Ma'am, yeah, ma'am, my doubt is like that. Ma'am, like, suppose if I counter like, the person is on his flow and ma'am I can't tell him like okay, I want to ask this question, so it is necessary for him to answer me, or ma'am it's his choice, or he want to or he want not to?
His choice.
His choice. Okay.
Yes, Meg.
Actually, I want to ask, do a TC member can raise POIs or not?
Oh yeah, TC members, you do not have, like, POIs are not a thing in TC. Turncoat has to do nothing with POIs.
Okay, like
Yes, TC people, if you're here, guys, I do not want you get to like confuse your format with WSDC. It's gonna be so much messy. Turncoat is simple. Say for, say against. 6 minutes, 3 minutes for, 3 minutes against. No POIs. You get to speak your speech. You have the time. Nobody's asking you POI. You might rebut yourself. Nobody's rebutting you.
and
Does that
one
make
more
sense,
thing.
Mayank?
Yes, and
Yeah.
one more thing, please. I was asking that the topic which you gave us yesterday, are they for the semi-finals or for the finals?
The motion topic that I gave you, the motions that I gave you yesterday was for. Wait, what's happening? Just a sec. Yeah. Oh yeah, the motions that I gave you yesterday is the motions which are going to happen for qualifiers. It's not for semis or finals.
So like for the semi-finals, do we have to prepare our own topics, or you will give us?
Will give us. It depends on who qualifies. Ma'am, do we get extra points for asking POIs? It's advisable that you do not. Somebody who takes POI is sort of is a, let's say, a more vigilant speaker. Like if you take a POI, it's advisable that you do. It shows that you can answer a question on your foot. It shows that you're pretty much vigilant, pretty much accurate, and you might have to know what the other side is also speaking, right? So you can probably rebut them. So yeah, it's advisable that you take POIs. It reflects on your individual speaker scores. So you get marks from 67 to 83. So if you do not take a POI, it might be like 75. If you take a POI, if you answer it good, it might go to 78. So yeah, that's like a difference. Yes, Samriddhi.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask what is the ideal number of POIs we should answer? Like
Yes, 2.
2. Okay.
It is the most ideal, I would say. If you at least like minimum at least like take up 1. If you think you can take 2, if you're over optimistic about it, sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, I'll take Harshini's Summerveer. Harshini and Summerveer.
Yeah, ma'am, I have a few doubts. Like, as you said that there's a team of 3 people. In that team, if 1 or 2 might not perform well or they perform extraordinarily well, will they be promoted separately, or will they have their teams changed because they performed comparatively better?
I'm so sorry, can you repeat your question?
You told us that there will be a team of 3 people. In that team, if 2 or 1 person performs exceptionally well, will that person or the people will be promoted separately, or they will have their teams changed?
No. It's a team effort. But it will showcase on who will become the best speaker, right? But if your team is doing great, even if like 1 person is doing great, it affects on teams as well. Like if your 1 person is like really, really good and you guys are like catching up, it shows like you have a good chance at sort of going to semis and finals. It showcases in your individual, let's say, speaker scores, but it doesn't affect the team. As long as your team is doing great, it's good. As long as your team is doing bad, but you as an individual is doing great, it showcases on your personal thing. But as a team, you have to perform well in order to go to semis and final. That's it.
I have one more doubt.
Yeah.
When we have registered for it in the prior, and we were not aware of the participants. They're all like strangers to us. But if we now want to give our preference about someone, can we do that? And if we can, then where do we have to put our preferences?
Yes, so I had this question by somebody yesterday as well. You can write it at hello@ogly.com, and you can write it in the WhatsApp group, and you might find this email, and we will sort this out. Like having to express an preference is somewhat was given to you way back, but I think we can sort of accommodate it. But yes, if you're given like 2 random people, it's still enough time to sort of bond with them and like come up with a good strategy.
Okay.
Does that work, questioning? Yeah. Okay. I'll take you Samarveer and Sarjeet like just like 5 minutes later after I'm done with the slide. Great. Round 1 and round 2 topic will be the same, right? It will be the same. So usually I told you, let's say 15 minutes back, that usually all the rounds have different motions, but this time we have same motions for round 1 and round 2. So you get to have an in-depth research about what you're trying to say, but you will also get a second chance in round 2 to sort of flesh your speech, speak a better speech, and you will get a different team, right? So your sides will be switched. So round 1, you get 4 from the same topic. Round 2, you get opposition from the same topic. So your sides will be switched. So you will never speak from the same side. Does that make sense? Okay, round 3 topic is different because we cannot have the same topic. It's called impromptu round for a reason, right? Your side will be given before a round, so you do not have to worry about it. Great. Now I'll take Saramveer's subject.
I had a doubt regarding that if POIs aren't asked, then will it affect our marking?
Sorry?
If POIs aren't asked, then will it affect our marking?
It doesn't really affect your marking, but if you take a POIs, it positively affects you. So if you do not take a POI, it doesn't really affect you. Like you do not get minus or negative marks for it. But if you do take like a POI and you answer it well, you get like plus points for it.
I'm asking whether if no POIs are asked.
It's fine. It doesn't negatively affect you. Like if your speech is like a 77, you will get 77 regardless if you didn't ask a POI, if you didn't like answer a POI. But if you take a POI, it might go up to 78 or 79. That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. Yes, Sarjeet.
Yes, so I had a question about the code event. So from our school, in our class, we have 3 people who have like registered for that. So can we do it as a thing for the turn code?
Sorry?
I wanted to ask like for the turn code event.
Yes, for the turn code event.
From our class in school, like we have 3 people who have registered. So can we do it as a team in turn code?
Okay. No. In turn code, you do not have team. It's an individual event. Okay, again, turn code people do not get confused, right? WSDC format is a very different format from the team. Yes, turn code is individual. You have to speak your speech individually. You do not have to form a team. In WSDC, you get to have teams by default. So yes, that's the difference. Does that make sense? I do not want you to get confused at all. Yes, great. Arush?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask, when will we know on which side will we speak first? For the qualifiers, of course.
On the D-Day, like 10 minutes prior to your debate actually starts. So you log in, you wait for like 5 minutes till everybody joins in, you get to know which side you are on, you go to your room, you start debating.
Okay.
Harshini?
Sorry to trouble you again and again, but I have one more doubt. Like if someone takes up an POI, but he or she is not able to answer it, will they be given minus points or?
No, there's no negative marking.
Or will the points be seen?
No, there's no I'm again saying it. If you do not take a POI, it's not going to negatively affect you. You do not have minus points for not taking a POI. If you take a POI, if you answer it like greatly, you might have plus points. Imagine if you didn't answer it nicely. It doesn't mean that you will get minus points for answering it badly. It shows that you tried. So you might, so you will not get plus points. You will not get minus points. You were just there.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Yes, Arjun.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask that if someone asks a POI and we accept, and the question is such that we know that later in a planned speech, this particular point will be elaborated on and will be answered. So can you just tell them that can you like to wait and we'll answer it later because we already have planned there.
Yes, you can. Yes, Veer.
Yes. Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but I still really have a lot of doubts regarding the prepared rounds. Can you please explain it once?
What doubts do you have in prepared?
Like, I don't understand the fact that, I mean, like, I know prepared rounds, but because and this is my first time doing a WSDC, the debate competition. So I wasn't really introduced to the prepared rounds at first. So in my is prepared round something in which, like, it's like, and when you need to give like evidence, unlike the impromptu rounds where you need to give like logic and or analytical skills.
Oh yeah, I'll come to that. No worries. I'll tell you what every speaker does, and it stays stagnant for all of these rounds. Yes, I'm gonna address that right now. So all your questions are gonna be answered here. Don't worry.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's like an in-depth explanation that I have to give. Yes. Any more doubts? Then I'll move towards the explanation of what every speaker does. Great. A quick recap of everything that we missed amidst the doubts and clarification. 3 speakers, 2 teams, 6 people in total. 3 people are called proposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3. These people are called proposition. Opposition has 3 people, opposition speaker 1, opposition speaker 2, opposition speaker 3. What is everybody doing here? Let's understand through this chart. Speaking time for each person is going to be 6 minutes. Let's understand proposition speaker 1. Who is the proposition speaker 1? Let me take an example. Can somebody give an example of a motion? Yep, Manit.
Okay. So this house opposes the glorification of soldiers as heroes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. I'll have to explain this motion. Okay, this house opposes the glorification of soldiers. Debating is a controversial activity. Yeah, so proposition speaker 1. So speaker 1 on both the sides have the burden on themselves to provide a definition. You cannot start a debate without giving like an introduction. So both the speakers have to give an introduction of what they're going to be debating. Remember, you guys like are functioning in a team. What does a team do? So debating in a WSDC format is similar to constructing a house. The first speaker sets up a base. The second speaker builds the house on that base. The third speaker paints that house. So yes, that is the job of all of these 3 speakers in proposition and opposition. Let's understand each of them individually. Proposition speaker 1 has to set up a base. So the topic is this house opposes. Okay, this house is basically the house that you're debating in. So every motion that you will have, it will be like this house as, this house opposes, this house supports, then the title, right? So let's understand what the proposition speaker 1 has to do here. Proposition speaker 1 has to define what glorification is, what are soldiers. You will have to give like definition, then you will give like introduction of what are your main arguments. So if your team has prepared 3 arguments on this topic, then you will probably have the first speaker introduce the header, like, hey, this is the definition, this is the background of everything. I'm setting up everything for my second speaker and third speaker to build on the house at, and then I will give you like an introduction of what my second, third speaker will say, right? So after the definition, after telling me what everything means, which means giving out like a contextual understanding of what everything means, you will have to go on and give me headers of what are your 3 argumentation. You can have as many arguments you can. It depends on what kind of team dynamic that you have. So let's imagine you have 3 arguments, right? So the first speaker is going to be like, okay, this is what glorification means. This is what soldiers mean. We are doing this. And we will do this by presenting you 3 arguments. Argument 1 is this, argument 2 is this, argument 3 is this. Explain it in 1 sentence, conclude and leave. That's your duty. What is the duty of opposition speaker 1? Opposition speaker 1 is always against proposition speakers in total, because obviously they're opponent, right? So opposition speaker 1 has to provide rebuttals. Can somebody tell me what are rebuttals?
Like to oppose the person who is speaking the first. To oppose his
Yeah,
points,
exactly.
to rebel against it.
Yes, so a very fancy word of going against the person and providing like, oh, I disagree with you is called rebuttals, right? So use rebuttals. Rebuttals is a simple way of saying, hey, I do not agree with you. So let's say argument 1 from proposition speaker is this, that, okay, can somebody give me an argument on this motion? This house opposes the glorification of soldiers. Okay, I have this argument. Soldiers should be respected rather than romanticized. Soldiers because okay, let me take a background knowledge. How many of you have seen like films like Border or there's this film by Siddharth Malhotra, Sher Shah, yes. In this movie, the soldiers, yes, exactly. The struggle of the soldiers was this, that they have like a, let's say, relatively easy life. Like they do not show the struggle as realistic as possible because they're adding like songs to it. They're adding like this happened in Bhag Milkha Bhag as well. Lot of critics were like, okay, Milkha Singh is just played by Farhan Akhtar, is not doing like a lot of things that actual Milkha Singh did, which is like hardcore intensive training, like genuinely walking for miles and miles, just like jumping on the sheds. All of these things were like an extensive training, and he did not have like time to relax and sort of do Havan Kund, like the song that they probably had, right? So yes, that was like a critique. So soldiers are glorified in the film industry. What is side proposition's argument? Side proposition's argument is this is like an explanation of whatever I've done, right? So the heading is going to be this: the soldiers should be respected for the actual struggle they do and not something that they look on films. Like films show you like a deceptive understanding of, hey, soldiers dance and everything like that, right? Ma'am, when are we going to discuss the Turncoat event? Okay, Sabri, we discussed the Turncoat event yesterday. Take like a recap session of what Turncoat debate is like in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and if you're in the group surgery, I'm going to send like the recording of yesterday's session, and I'm going to send you the PPT as well, so don't worry about it. You can go ahead and look through it. We're also having a session tomorrow, and then you can come up with any and all doubts that you have. You can also write in the subset. Don't worry. Great. Thanks for sticking up though. Yes, amazing. Where was I? So yes, proposition one, speaker one's argument is soldiers should be respected, not like romanced on films and etc. Right? Opposition speaker's argument is this, that hey, I do not agree with proposition speaker that in films all of these struggles are sort of romanticized and glorified. We think it's important for large scale people to understand that hey, this is the life that soldiers live, right? Okay, so here's the tactic. Not everybody really understands the kind of hardships that every soldiers do. Like even if you have like Farhan Akhtar dancing on one like let's say song, doesn't mean that Farhan Akhtar hasn't done like extensive training to depict what Milkha Singh did. Like in that, like 3 of Bhag Milkha Bhag songs were all about extensive training, just like jumping from mountains and walking through hills, etc. Right? So that is the kind of struggle that Bhag Milkha Bhag, like Milkha Singh has done regardless, right? So for making people understand, for making people know about these soldiers, like nobody actually respects, like nobody actually, let's say, knows the kind of soldiers that we have. Like after Sher Shah, a lot of these people knew what the war was about, right? People understood that, hey, this is what the person was about. This is what her wife is, etc. Right? So when you have like films and medias, you get to know about who these soldiers are and what are they doing, right? So this is the argument that side opposition does. So yes, what is the side? Yeah, Uri as well. Uri, yeah, Shubhadeep, you're right. In Uri, right? Nobody knew what's happening with surgery. Like nobody knew the exact headline of what surgical strike was. It's in hush hush in the government cabinets, right? So yes, after that Uri film released, everybody respected soldiers even more because everybody was like, okay, wow, you did it, yes, etc. So I get to know what is happening in the life of soldiers and what's like Indian Defense Army. It's really respectful, etc. Right? Yes. So this is what opposition speaker one is doing. So you are disagreeing with your proposition speaker, but in a respectful manner by saying, I disagree with this point. I have a counterpoint to this. So counterpoint is called a rebuttal, right? And you have like multiple levels of like argumentations. And then you do the same thing as your proposition speaker is doing. Define the way you want to define it in your way. So glorification can have a different meaning according to you. So the motion is going to become like this: how supports the glorification of soldiers on side opposition, right? So you will tell me what is glorification, what is supports, what is soldiers according to side opposition, introduce it from side opposition. So this is what speaker one have to do from both the sides: introduce everything. Speaker two, meanwhile, I'll just take a breath and take doubts. Yes, I hope everybody's clear with what the speaker one does. It's introduction, basically. Yes, Manit.
Am I audible? Okay. So basically what happens in frequent debates is that side opposition gives some other definition and side government gives some other definition. So as team opposition, are we allowed to counter team government's definition, or shall we continue the definition that is given by the team government? So let's take an example of this motion only. Let's say side government defines glorification as romanticism over they misinterpret glorification as over glorification, but we define glorification as just a form of respect. So like
Yeah,
arguments
that
will
is
contradict here.
Yep, so that is the magic of debating, right? You sort of clear this debate, like, okay, so first speaker misinterprets, or let's say the other first speaker misinterprets, or say second speaker misinterprets. In the second speaker from your team can sort of go, second speaker from your team can sort of correct it, right? Can sort of clear the mess, can give out like more introductions, more contextualization to make the other team really understand. So that's like a misunderstanding clearance that you have to do in your debate speeches. So yeah, misunderstandings, not being able to understand the points of other speakers is just genuinely a part of debating. I know it's frustrating and annoying, but you have to go through that process in order to make sure your arguments are persuasive, clean, clear, and has a lot of clarity. Can we use any AI apps for research like ChatGPT? Geez, like AI is just so entrenched right now. But yeah, we cannot really stop you, but do not create your speech from ChatGPT. I mean, I know it's like a tool which assists you, but I know it just like helps you make just like a remarkable speech. But you know, if you're making a speech from ChatGPT, it just gets you. Like if the judge is really, really smart, it will get like everything that you've said is from ChatGPT, because it's just like ChatGPT works on two levels. It makes like a really, really great argument. Then in the same breath, it makes a very generic argument, like children's are hurt. Like, I don't know which children's are hurt. So yeah, advisable not to, but can't really stop you. Yes, Veer.
Yeah, ma'am, I wanted to ask that so I wanted to ask about after every speaker after every speaker has spoken is 15 seconds for the next speaker to prepare, means like is it for the preparation, or like they're just gonna get like some little bit of time to speak?
Oh no, 50 seconds is just like, okay, I can take a breath, etc. So yeah, 15 seconds is like a grace period. That's all, nothing else. Yes. So every speech has three things, guys: a claim, warrant, evidence. This is where your doubt gets clear. Claim is like your heading, like what is the thing that you're trying to say. Warrant is an explanation. So warrant is also called reasoning. So if you say children are hurt, reason should be children are hurt because they fell on the playground. Evidence is look at my playground. So yes, claim is like a heading, warrant is reasoning, evidence is an example, a statistic, a data, etc. Yeah, so every speech has this. And you have to make sure that all of your arguments have a heading, has a reasoning for that argumentation. So if your argumentation is glorification is bad, nobody knows what is bad, why is this even relevant, explain it to people. Evidence is give an example, like the examples that I threw around, like oh bhag milka bhag, uri, surgical strike, etc. are part of evidences, right? So every person has to do it. Like every speaker has to have a claim, has to have a warrant, has to have an evidence, connect it with your first speakers or second speakers of your team, or whatever is said, try to elaborate on it. Okay, no doubt, Manit.
Yeah, am I audible? Okay, this isn't really a doubt, so but I have to confirm, like, is this kind of thinking and these kind of motions correct or not? So this is the thing which I thought has to be like can be an argument. See, like when like I'm making this argument in opposition side. So when we support the glorification of soldiers, so let's say in case of a war, so we don't really know which side is good or which side is morally bad. So like on a neutral perspective, we can know, let's say if Pakistan attacked India and for no reason, like it has happened in the past, so you can take the example. So on the morally good side is India, the morally bad side is the Pakistan. But Pakistan's people will support Pakistan's army because ultimately it is protecting their boundaries, and India's people will support India's army. So can't we say that this glorification will create a platform where representatives from each country can come and debate on this topic, and war can be resolved quickly, like UN has these things or something.
Yes, you can add that in your argumentation. Make sure that you do not take like a very neutral perspective, because if you side with neutrality, it's going to end the way people debate. So like then proposition side, if they want to like have a rebuttal to this, will end up making it like really tilted, right? So make sure that your argument is not neutral at all. Like sure, you need to find neutrality in everything that you do, but make sure that neutrality has some sort of objectivity lies within it. So let's say if you talk about war, is it immoral, moral? So it's like, so again, this also stems from the perspective that most of the motion that we're giving you is not neutral at all, which means you will probably have some level of understanding of where you want to side or where you do not want to side. So like neutrality is somewhat really absent, I would say, but if you want to take a neutral perspective, it does give a balance to the side. But yeah, it depends on the motion and the context specifically. So yeah, if the thing that you said can be added as an argumentation. Does that make sense? Great. Manit, do you have any other doubt?
No, sorry, I forgot to roll.
Great. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my doubt is, ma'am, like suppose, ma'am, the debate has started, and ma'am, suppose, ma'am, the first speaker, the opposition speaker, ma'am, he has lost the connection, internet connection, and ma'am, the debate is like delayed. So, ma'am, what will happen? Like, ma'am, they will give us extra time, or the team will be disqualified. Like,
Again, I told you this before. So two people can hire in person. Let's imagine that the first person has a bad internet and be like, okay, I'm joining, but I can't. Like it's something bad happened, right? So we follow this disconnection policy. So we wait for 5 to 7 minutes. If the person still doesn't join, you guys have to give their speech.
understood, ma'am. Understood.
Great. What does I'm just coming back to second speeches. First speaker, I hope you guys are clear. It's about introduction, giving an introduction of what you've said. Second speeches are all about giving an in-depth explanation of whatever your first speaker has said. So your first speaker has said like 3 things, that hey, A, B, C. What is the second speaker going to do? The second speaker is going to elaborate on what A is, what B is, what C is, give rebuttals. Right? Rebuttals are you have listened to the first speaker from opposition. Means you have to now attack the first speaker on opposition and finish their case. Obviously, be polite and be respectful. Do not be like very antagonistic in nature. And then you have to extend on whatever your first speaker has said, because opposition speaker 1 is attacking like proposition speaker 1, right? So you have to make sure that you protect proposition speaker 1 by rebuilding and giving like an in-depth explanation of what they earlier said and why it is more relevant, and destroy the side opposition, right? Great. So this is what second speakers do. Extend on whatever your first speaker has said, try to connect the dot, then like give more explanation, rebut. 3 things, that's all. I'll take doubts. Okay, wait, I can see. Great. Could you please repeat the claim warrant part? Okay, so the claim is called heading of the argument, warrant is called reasoning, and evidence, it's just not part. So claim is like a heading. So argument A is my claim. Like the warrant is going to be the explanation of what that argument all is about. And then evidence A is going to be example, statistic, and the things that you want to connect it with the reasoning in the very first place. So yeah, it just sort of connects everything. Yep. So you need to have a claim, you need to have a warrant, you need to have an evidence. It doesn't matter what structure do you follow. Like if you want to have evidence first, then reasoning, then claim, it's absolutely fine. It depends on the way you connect everything and the way you sort of present your argumentation. Every argumentation has to have an explanation to make it somewhat sound and grounded, right? What is the relevance of an evidence? It grounds everything, right? If you say my child fell on the ground, nobody really knows. But when you give an example that in Chhatrapati Shivaji Park, somebody fell. So yeah, that can be an example that, oh, somebody has fallen down. Yeah, great. Ma'am, would you please tell us how much more time? Okay, you have a boarding school, right? Just like 10 minutes more. I'm really, really sorry. It's just that I really want you guys to be very clear on it, right? Yeah, it's necessary to take the example of Indian soldiers. No, you can take any. Okay, I'll take you, Saj. I want you to focus on the third speeches, like the third speak, and then we'll move towards more doubt clearance. Yes, third speakers. Third speakers are called summary speakers as well, which means third speakers have to summarize what all of this first and the second speakers from their team has said. So you have to do rebuttals, obviously. You also have to summarize everything that your first and second speaker has said, and you can probably add more, let's say, arguments. Not exactly add arguments, because third speakers do not additionally add something which is new. Like if you're adding something new, it's unfair for the other team, because the other team might not have an opportunity to then speak because they do not have reply speeches. But usually do not add something new which hasn't been spoken in the first and second speeches. Add something which is relevant, add new information, add new examples, add new mechanisms, but do not go ahead and add something which is so new that the other team can't really go ahead and rebut it because they were the proposition speaker 3 and you were opposition speaker 3, right? So make sure that you sort of connect everything, summarize everything pretty well, tell the judges why you won, why you win, right? So that's your job. Summarize, give rebuttals, add new mechanisms, and tell the judges why you win. You're like a biased judge at this point of time, right? Quick recap. Proposition speaker 1, introduction. Proposition speaker 2, in-depth explanation. Same for opposition speaker 2. Proposition and opposition speakers 3 are going to be going ahead and summarizing everything, right? Summarizing is basically just like, what is my first and second speaker trying to say and why are we relevant to the debate? Make sure that you whip for everything. Whipping is summarizing, just like whipping the wand and be like, okay, we are winning because we have proven you these things. Yes, ma'am, is any prize money is there for winners? No prize money. Great. I'll move ahead. Yes, speech roles now. I'll just do a quick recap, then I'll take more doubts. Great. First speaker, define key terms of motion, which means definition. Second, mention 4 arguments. It depends on how many arguments you have and how much of a better explanation are you giving. Like if the motion is difficult for you, you come up with 1 argument, explain it. Explain the first 2 arguments with reasoning and examples. I told you this. Second, speakers, both the sides have to respond to the questions asked by your opponents. So if your opponents are raising like accusations on you, make sure that you answer them and raise accusations on them. Explain the rest of the 2 arguments which your first speaker said. Respond to the opponent's argument by opposing their claims, right? Third speaker, summarize everything what your arguments have been throughout. Like listen to everything that your first and second speakers say. Listening is a part of this activity, which is why you might have a better collaborative arrangement. Second, prove to judge why you win the debate. Like give more like persuasion tactics here. Third, respond to opponent's argument by opposing their claims. The same thing as rebuttals. Prove why your team wins the debate against opposition, because you're the last speaker of your own team. You have to be the last nook which sort of goes ahead and hits the wall, right? So make sure that you're that persuasive. Great. Any doubts? And yes, I'll go ahead and take doubts now. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, so earlier in the meeting, you mentioned that when someone asked that whether we are supposed to use Google or devices or ChatGPT, you mentioned that it was not suggestive to use them. So, ma'am, what do you recommend us using for our research or for preparing our speech? So, like, what do you recommend?
Right. So prepared motions have this beauty. You can definitely go ahead and check it on Google, but this is advisable in impromptu, right? So like I know you guys are like, let's say, ethical in nature, but we can't really stop you from searching on Google and sort of having ChatGPT speeches in the 3rd round because it's going to be impromptu. But for the prepared rounds, which means round 1 and round 2, you will have researchers. You can research on Google, definitely. That's like a part of your research. You can research on the books that you probably have read, which is regarding to the motion. You can watch films, you can watch series, you can do as much research as you want. Make sure that your speech is not ChatGPT. Like if it is, like who's stopping you? Like that's your choice, but it's advisable that you stay ethical, right? For prepared motions, you have like enough material for you to research on. But usually when somebody else who just from my time debates, we sort of go to newspapers, journals. That's like a very authentic way of trying to research, but it's also very time consuming, which means I prefer that you go on Google and do that. Try to like look through Wikipedia pages, Britannica speeches, etc. Right? We can't really stop you from doing that. But yes, research and original speeches, I would say. Does that answer your question, Sahaj?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Great. Arshia?
Yeah, so will there be any considerations in case we are using secondary sources of research instead of using primary sources?
Okay, so you can use both primary and secondary resources. If you use primary resources, I mean, that's like a wonderful tactic that you go ahead and use. What kind of consideration do we really employ? Okay, so this is the consideration that happens on face value. So let's say the judge is listening to your speech and the speech is copied from Wikipedia and the judge is like, okay, I read this Wikipedia yesterday. So you will sort of get deducted marks because obviously you did not have any originality. You did not sort of take any POIs. Like obviously you have no negative marking for POIs, but just like if you copied a speech from Wikipedia, the judges will eventually know that you copied a speech. So everything is reflective on your, let's say, speaker scores. So you will get around, if you're, let's say, if the judge is like, oh, original speech, 78, great argument, etc. Imagine you chat GP'd and the judge is like, oh, chat GP speech. You might get like, the judges get pissed. That's all. It's reflective on your personal scoring. Does that make sense? Great. Ma'am, do we need to memorize the lines or we will see and debate? Okay, this is a question that I get often. Do we need to memorize? If you want to memorize, that's like a very, let's say, grade kindergarten thing. Like, if you can memorize, like, sure, but I do not prefer that you guys are like 10th, 11th, 12th, which means you can definitely go on, let's say, take a notepad, write bullet points of what you need to like add in your argumentation, add a heading, like add only claims, reasoning you can give on your own, try to like reasonings and bullet points, refer to them. Do not like read your speech out loud, right? Try to have like eye contact with the debaters or let's say judges at all points of time. Do not like memorize everything, because that's going to be time consuming for you. And memorized speeches are not something that you understand. So I want to have more contextual understanding in your speeches, as opposed to, oh, the speech was flawless because you did not stutter. So right now I'm stuttering, let's say, a lot. So you might know that I'm not seeing from any other source, be it primary or secondary, or be it qualitative, quantitative, right? So at the end of the day, you need to sound original. And I think that originality only comes in place when you sort of understand it contextually and mold your speech according to the circumstances that you're a part of. So let's say your opponent speakers are like, oh, we didn't get your point. So in that particular instance, you cannot just refer to the memorized speech. You just have to mold the way in order to make the opponent understand you. Yep, great. Let's understand the criteria for judges. The participants will be judged on 3 bases. Matter, what is the person saying? Manner, what is this person, let's say, what is the eye contact, what is the body language, what is the poise, camera should be opened at all points of time, because what is then the beauty of like online debating? What is then the voice modulation, etc. Method is structure. Is the team able to be coherent with each other? What is this called? So if the team one, like if the proposition speaker one is saying argument A, and if the proposition speaker 2 says argument C, like there is no B argumentation. So the judges get to know that this person is not collaborating with his own team member. So you need to have team collaboration. You need to have structure. You need to listen well to your partners. Try to understand and have like a flow which is very natural. That only happens with communication and the connection that you build throughout. Yes. Any questions still here? Yep, great. Let's understand point of informations. So it's short, it's 15 seconds. Okay, so if you're asking a question to your opponent, do not make it like 1 minute, because you're eating their time as well, right? It's not strategic. It's somewhat called badgering and heckling, right? So it should be short, under 15 seconds. Try to ask a short question and make sure the question is like relevant at all points of time. Can be offered between initial 1 minute and the last like 1 minute. So it can only be offered in 2 and the 5th minute. You cannot ask it in the 1st minute and the last minute, because people are introducing and concluding. Let them do that. Third, offer to speakers on the opposing side. You cannot ask a POI to your own member. Speakers can accept or decline POIs. That's the choice that they have. Great way to show engagement with other teams. If you take a POI, it shows that you actively listen to them and you want to answer and engage with them. Because if I'm opposition and if I'm genuinely listening to your proposition speak, I have a question, I want to get it clarified. So I'm desperate as a speaker, right? So make sure that you sort of go ahead and like calm their desperation out. So yeah, all teams should offer POIs, advisable, not a compulsion. There's no news. All speakers should try to take 1 to 2 POIs. Please respect the speaker's preferred way of receiving POIs. So there are 2 ways in which you prefer your POIs. Either you do it via chat, like write it in the chat box, like, hey, POI, and I will take it. Or either say it verbally, like you have to specify the time in which you want a POI. So in the 5th minute, I'm going to take a POI. So in the 5th minute, the person says POI by unmuting. So you have to specify what kind of, let's say, method you want to use for taking a POI, right? By default, it's going to be chat box, because I do not want the flow of the speeches to be really bad. Speakers who say yes or no, ignore you, or ask a POI at some time, like later. Please respect that choice. POI for senior category can be asked from 1 minute 1 second to 4 minutes 59 seconds of the speaker's time, right? So like 1st minute 1 second, and then the 4th minute 59-second mark. Yeah, great. Let's move on to the last slide, which is what is the motion that you guys are doing. Before that, I want you all to tell me if you guys have any doubts regarding like the senior cat, like regarding the structure, regarding format, everything that we discussed. TC people, do you have doubts if you're still here? Okay. WSDC people, I think you guys are clear. Let's understand the motion. Okay, SVA.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that the motion that is on the screen right now, do we have to prepare for and against? We need to prepare for the prop and as well as op now. So I mean, it's in the round one, we're going to be probably going to say from the prop and the op side, but in the round two, the same motion will apply, and we have to speak from the opposite side that was spoken in the last round.
Yes, so you have to prepare for both the sides, because on the D day you get to know which side you're speaking on. So let's say you prepared for both and you suddenly realize you're speaking on opposition. So yes, you've prepared for both, so you have a better idea what the other side is going to speak on. So yeah, that's the beauty of like prepared rounds, right? So yes, you get to know on the D day which side you're talking on.
But for example, like if I get a motion on spot and I'm prepared for the both of them. So in the first round, do I have to speak for the proposition? For example, I'm speaking for the proposition in the first round. In the second round, with the same motion, do I have to speak from the opposition side too?
Okay, so you do not have an opportunity to decide which side you're speaking on. It gets decided by organizing committee, which means we get to give you which sides you're talking on. So round one, all of you are preparing on all the sides, like for and against. On the D day, random teams get assigned random sides. So you prepared for both the sides, but you get opposition on the D day. So you speak on opposition. Next round, you get for. So you will speak from for. So yes, it's not dependent on you, it's dependent on us.
Yes, so yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Let's look at the motion. Round one and round two are same. The motion is this house believes that. I'll just write it in the chat box. This house believes that artist is more important than the critique in their role of shaping a culture. So on side proposition, you will have to tell me why artist is more important for shaping their role in a culture. And on opposition, you have to say that no, artist is not important, which means critics are more important. So it's like a value judgment motion. You have to, on one side, you will have to prefer artists. On other side, you have to tell me why critics are more important. Is the binary clear? Great. Let's have a small chat on what this can look like. I want two people to speak on for, and I want two people to speak on against, just like basic pointers. What will you say? Yes. So Manit, you'll be speaking for. I want like one more person. I'll just take one person for, one person for against.
Can we explain the motion once again, please?
Yes. So, you know, there are two people in the industry, artists, people who just make art. It can look like making films. Directors are artists too. Actors are artists. Artists are also called painters. So yeah, people who create art are called artists. Are they more important for shaping a culture, or the people who critique it? Like people who diss on artists. So like there was this really like recent movie which got released right now, which was Rocky and Rani, right? So Rocky and Rani, the artists are going to be Ranveer Singh and Alia Bhatt, but the critiques are going to be people who say who disagree with the movie. Like Rocky and Rani were not that great because it had some fallacies. Note, critiques are not bad or negative people. They have constructive feedback to give you. So critiques are people. Critiques can be newspapers too. Like Hindustan Times can like launch a critique on Rocky and Rani. Like there can be so many critiques. Like Karan Johar is a critique of most of the Bollywood films which come all together, right? So are those critiques which sort of like give a constructive feedback on the artist's art is more important for shaping a culture, or are artists more important for shaping the culture? So that's the debate all about. Argumentations, I was asking for more volunteers to speak for or against. So Manit, you'll speak for. I want somebody to speak on against. Okay,
Right.
Veer. Okay.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Ma'am, like if I tell the arguments which I have to make, so wouldn't it be unfair for the main round? Hello? Hello?
Internet stopped. Yeah, you just repeat yourself.
Ma'am, like if I tell my arguments which I'm going to make here, so like wouldn't it have an impact on me on the main round?
Oh yeah, just do not like be strategic. Do not reveal like your entire speech or so that people copy it. Just like give a gist about it because explanations vary across.
Okay, shall I start now?
Yes, and Granth, you're going opposite, like if you still want to. Yes, so somebody has to go against, right? So yes, Manit and Granth, you're going opposite. Yes,
So for proposition, like we have to understand that artist, artist motivation also matters. And we are not saying that criticism is bad, criticism is good. We are saying that like that appreciating the artist is more important than criticizing it and pointing out the mistakes, because not everyone is perfect. Not everyone is not perfect. And further on, if we criticize the artist a lot, he or she will get demotivated, and probably he will won't have the inspiration to improve its art.
great, thanks, Manit. Good points. Yes, Granth, opposition.
So critics are very important than the artists, just because critics help artists to improve more and more by criticizing them, and the and I don't think that criticizing people is demotivating the other demotivating the artist, just because criticizing is also criticizing is all can also be taken as a plus point for a lot of things, like a person will try to come out of their comfort zone because of the critics, and I guess that's it.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Granth, for those points. Yep. Saurav, I think we're running really short on time, so I would really like you have fifth to go ahead and speak. So I would really love that I'm gonna drop by and see what you're trying to speak. So yeah, that's really lovely. Cool. I hope you have no doubts. This motion is really interesting. It's very balanced, and you have like enough time to research on what artists are, what is their incentive, what is a critique, what does it like stay relevant on, what is the culture, what is it shaping on. So all of these things start with definition, go with structure, communicate with your partners, the WhatsApp team, the teams are going to be released on WhatsApp. And yeah, keynote here before we end the session. Only for WSDC participants, the teams will be shared today on WhatsApp groups. Don't worry about it. Know your teammates on the WhatsApp group. Introduce yourself in the WhatsApp group and be like, okay, I am Manit. I'm from team number L1 and I'm looking for my team partners. They will text you or just tag them on the group. Create a WhatsApp group with your teammates to coordinate with each other, have a bonding, like be friends with each other, start building your common document for research, and yeah, discuss and have a chat regularly at 7 p.m. whatever suits well for you guys. Do collective research, try to be synchronized with each other at all points of time. Yeah, and this is here we go ahead and end the session. Check out our Instagram if you do want. But yeah, I'm gonna open the floor for any and all doubts now. Structure, format, anything, I'll just take any doubts. Okay, hello ma'am, I have a doubt on speech format that if seeing your pointers allowed since eye contact is holding marks and all that. Yeah. So, again, I've been saying this, do not like take a paper and read it out loud, because if you do that, you will lose eye contact, right? And eye contact plays a crucial part in getting more marks in manner, right? So the way you're communicating with people, are you really talking from your heart, or are you trying to communicate with them on a very personal level, or are you speaking from a paper? So that does really show like a impact on your speaker scores as well. So it's advisable that you keep like bullet points, keep a note, etc., and then sort of go ahead and check it out. Great. Ma'am, tomorrow we will have a mock debate, just kind of argument analysis practice. We will have a mock debate. Yeah, we have to discuss about mock debate. Okay, so guys who are still here, one important announcement. I want two people to do turn code debate. I'm bringing one of my students here, so she'll be like a great addition. She will do a turn code, but I want like 1 or 2 people more who can prepare on a random topic that I give. Okay, turn code debate on the topic. This should. Okay, wait, give me a topic, guys. Okay, prepare on any topic that you want. I'm giving you that freedom as well. Prepare on any topic. But I want
Demonetization.
Okay, Saurav, do you want to do turn? Are you from Turncoat? I want only
No,
Turncoat
ma'am.
people to.
No, I'm just
Okay.
suggesting, ma'am, just suggesting you, ma'am, like the turn code topic, like demonetization, the plus points and negative points of that.
Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah. So Turncoat people, if you're still here, if you want to volunteer for Turncoat, I'm gonna have my student as well. So even if you're like shy, just need some insight on if we have 2 rounds on the same agenda would be substantive. Yeah, sure, Arshia, yes. Yes, anybody from Turncoat who would like to volunteer for a mock, like I will like take any topic, prepare a 6-minute speech, do it like here. But yeah, if not, I'll bring some of my people. Great. Okay, let's come to WSDC finally. Any doubts? And yeah, my second question is WSDC. I do want like, okay, so if I have a WSDC mock, it's gonna last for an hour. And it's gonna like take a lot of time. Okay, so suggest me anything that you guys want to do in terms of WSDC mock. I am bringing my own people to show what WSDC looks like. And I'm going to have some videos to go ahead and showcase as well. But in the WSDC, I do want like some people to participate. So can we have like proposition speaker 1, proposition speaker 2, proposition speaker 3, or do you want to have like an entire WSDC mock with 3-minute speeches? I'm not even doing 6 minutes. How could I participate in the TC mock? I have previous speeches and I would love to present. Yes, Harj. Yes, Harjas, you should do it. Okay, Harjas, you're in. Please, yes, I'm gonna announce you. And
Ma'am, the
ma'am,
mock you are, ma'am, the mock you are going to do. Sorry for interrupting you. So sorry, ma'am. But the mock you are going to do is right now, or ma'am, we will do it on tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay. So sorry, ma'am, for interrupting you.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yes, WSDC mock interested people, please let me know if you want to like mock. You can either have like, I can have 1 speaker for, I can have another speaker against. I can do that. Okay, we have 3 people, 4 people volunteering. Okay, I can have an entire WSDC.
I have a doubt. Sorry, not to interrupt, but I have a doubt. Can the participants of the WSDC leave the meeting, or is there anything important?
Nothing important. Like the session is over, guys. If you want to leave, you can definitely leave. If you want to participate for tomorrow's WSDC mock, you can stay here. I'm just planning what kind of mock am I organizing. So, okay, I'm gonna end the recording as well. Thank you so much for joining. You can end the meet if you have any. If you can exit the meet, if you have like any doubts, you can stay back. I'm gonna address it for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much for the session.